Hi everyone, this is Abel. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna be talking about a bunch of book series I'm planning to start really soon. Now, before we start, remember that if you like science fiction and fantasy books, especially space opera and epic high fantasy books, consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a like, a comment. Every interaction really helps a lot. So today I'm gonna be mentioning 6 book series I will read soon, and because I'm not very good at following up after book 1 of a series. I usually read book 1, then I'll tell myself I need a palate cleanser, I'll read something else, and then I'll go back and read book 2, and then 1 year passes. And then I forget what that first book was about, and if I have fond memories I'll try to go back and read book 2, but it often happens that I don't remember what's inside that book, so I have to read book 1 again. So what I'm trying to do is to change my habits about this. I will try and read 2 or the whole trilogy, the usually trilogies or more, of a book in 1 year, to speed things up and to be more consistent, because I want to follow those series with more attention and follow the writing journeys of those authors writing those series, because more often than not, the first book in a series, they're very popular, they have many reviews, and the ending parts, the later books of a series, they have less reviews, and that can be difficult for an author to get coverage about the whole stuff, the whole series. So given the fact that I really love to be part of the writing journey and the publication journeys of many authors, I will try and be more consistent about that. So today we're going to be focusing only on series I haven't started yet. I will probably have another video talking about book series I have started and then that I haven't finished because of the problems I mentioned, so that I have read book 1 and then 3 years passed and then I have to read book 2, but I don't remember what happened. So I will probably restart most of those series to have a fresh idea of what happened in book 1, and then I will try to read the rest of the series. But that's for another video. That's another problem. We'll talk about it soon. Today we're focusing on 6 book series I want to read soon. You'll see that a few of those are traditionally published, a few of those are self-published. I think that about 50% are epic fantasy and another 50% is science fiction, especially space opera. So let's go. The first series I want to read is Wurts of Light and Shadow by Janny Wurts. It starts with Curse of the Mistwife. This is a 10 volumes book series. Even if there are different editions, I don't know if the US one has 10 volumes or more, because they were split maybe in 2 volumes, but the edition I'm following, I think it's the UK one that has 10 volumes, and they will be 11 pretty soon, because the last book is been published pretty soon. I've heard about this series for the first time, I think around 1 year ago, and even if it is pretty popular, because it has 10 volumes, so it must be pretty successful, right? Because in traditional publishing, if you don't have good numbers, you won't have a series. They will not publish 10 volumes of a series if you don't sell pretty well. But even with those numbers, in my career as a reader, mainly reading science fiction and fantasy books for the last 20 years or so, I had never heard about it, which is pretty crazy. So don't get me wrong, I've heard about Janny Wurts because of that collaboration she made with Raymond E. Feist, writing a book trilogy set in the same world, in the Riftward saga. Many people said that that trilogy is the best series in the whole saga. So I've heard about her, and then I knew that she was pretty popular and respected. And but I had actually never heard about this series. So I've heard about it on Twitter and on BookTube. And you know, when you organically heard about a series on and on by booktubers and people and reviewers that you actually respect, sooner or later you will want to try too. And so I started to look more and more videos, especially recently, because there are a few booktubers I follow and really love that have been reading book by book and doing commentaries and discussion about this, and a few of them a overview of the whole series. So that I decided I have to do it, I have to read it. I'm attracted to it because it looks like it has this huge scope. It's a chronicle of a really long, really huge war that spans multiple planets, multiple plane of existence, and the world buildings, what I've heard about it, the backstory of every planet and backstory of every faction, the actual way that everything works, it looks enormous, huge, very fascinating, really complex. But even with that, and everybody says that the character work is amazing. You know, in many epic fantasy stories, the world is actually the protagonist, and that it's all good and fun. I really respect that, but I'm mostly attracted by character works. Here it looks like we have two half brothers that are actually rivals, but they're forced to join forces to fight a supernatural threat. And this seems to be a pretty consistent theme during the whole series. So I'm attracted to it because it looks like it strikes a sweet spot between this huge story, this huge amount of lore and world building, and the more personal, intimate stakes. And everybody says that the writing is amazing, that nobody writes like Janny Wurts, that it is really complex, really beautiful. So yeah, I can't wait to start it. I want to read it. The second book series I'm planning to start soon is the Final Architecture by Adrian Tchaikovsky, starting with Shards of Earth. I'm really excited about this because it sounds like it has everything I like about modern science fiction and modern space opera, which means a balance between huge idea, pretty hard sci-fi concept, pretty scientific, hard scientific concept, and a good character development. That's really important for me about Tchaikovsky too, because even if I liked one of his most famous series, actually I think it is his most popular series, which is the one starting with Children of Time. I enjoyed that series. I enjoyed book 1. I really didn't enjoy book 2. So I'm kind of on the fence if I should try and read book 3. You tell me if you have read all of the 3 of the books, if the series wraps up nicely. So it is important that this one that I want to read has that balance, because Children of Time really didn't have that much of an interesting cast. Because if you know about that series, they have 2 different casts of characters, and it spends a huge amount of time, hence the title. One part of the cast is human, the other part no, it is not. The non-human side of the cast was really interesting, even if I'm trying not to spoil it too much if you haven't read it. For a series of circumstances, they were not actually characters that you were able to follow for more than one chapter at a time. you had different iteration of the same character. I know that it sounds weird, but if you try and read it, you'll understand. Then you have the human side of the characters. They were mainly the same, but they were so poorly managed. I really couldn't establish any kind of connection whatsoever with those. So I enjoyed the books because of those huge ideas and because something that happened with the non-human cast, and because of the ending. The ending is mind-blowingly good. So even if Tchaikovsky is a really prolific author, I always shied away from his other series and his other books he's been publishing after Children of Time, because I knew that he wasn't famous because of his character works. He was famous because of his huge ideas. But someone told me that Shards of Wurts, and the rest of this trilogy has a very good, pretty compelling character work. So I'm going to read it. And this is about a war, and because there is this huge alien civilization that is actually going on and destroying inhabited planets and turning them in pieces of art, sculptures. This is bizarre and amazing and extremely creepy too. To the idea that those aliens are actually using inhabited planet and perhaps the people inhabiting those planets and turning them in pieces of art while unaliving them. It's a very strange and really fascinating idea. So I'm going to give it a try, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish it pretty soon, because every book is really short compared to the huge chunker I usually read. So that's the second book series I'm going to read. Then I read the Tide Child trilogy by R.J. Barker, the one that starts with the bone ships. This is a weird one for me, because, as I told you, I'm more on the character side or every story, and you'll hear me saying ad nauseam, and I will not shy away from this, because characters are the most important part of a story. Yes, even if I started my reading journey really young with books that didn't have that tendency, like Asimov's books. But this one is really fascinating for me because of the world building. It is about a world that revolves about ships built with dragon bones. And even if dragons are now extinct, and it looks like those ships are becoming rarer and rarer and more difficult to build because of that, the struggle for power surrounding those ships, it still persists. It looks like the cultures that it's been built and told about the ship's riders and all the sailors that works and fight, and the military that revolves around those bone ships, is really amazing. It is a matriarchal society, so women are in charge, and being able to have children and have healthy children puts women in position of power. The more children you have and the healthier they are, the more powerful you become. So men are even if they fight and even if they are sailors on those ships, they will never be powerful as women in this world. This is a really strange and really unique perspective on the epic fantasy side of narration and of speculative fiction. So the setting here is what is being fascinating me more than everything else. But a few really close friends of mine, they have told me that the character work is pretty good too. So I'm excited about this. And each book is pretty short too, so that's a plus, because I am already in the process of reading a very long book series. Every book of the Wheel of Time, except a few ones in the middle of the series, is very long. Every book in the Stormlight Archives is really long, and I'm planning to read other series that have huge chunker in every installment. So having book series with shorter books that I will be maybe able to read in 1 year, it's a plus. It's a very good thing for me. Book series number 4 for me is the Waystation Trilogy by N.C. Scrimgeour. Another surname I'm butchering with no shame. This trilogy starts with Those Left Behind. This is a space opera. It's about a desperate mission to find a new inhabitable planet. But the crew of this spaceship is going to meet and maybe deal with an intergalactic civilization on the brink of war. I'm really attracted by this series because I've heard about it from a few booktubers I really respect. They had only good words about it. I like the covers too, so that's a plus. But it really sounds like that this series is all about the best parts of science fiction and space opera. Meeting new civilization, the concept of an intergalactic war that spans multiple solar systems and then it evolves different civilization, and then by the synopsis it looks like it involves ancient artifacts by an ancient race that could change the shift and the balance of power in that war. So the concept to uncover and rediscover ancient technologies is incredibly fascinating for me. So this series has all of those vibes that I had from The Expanse, maybe, but actually meeting another civilization that it is evolved and that we can deal in a human way is very fascinating for me, because we didn't have that with The Expanse. And if you have read the series, you know what I'm talking about, because there is definitely aliens in The Expanse, but they're different. They're really, really weird. They're strange. And the way that The Expanse deals with those aliens, that single alien civilization we meet, it is pretty unsettling, but I don't know if it is the best part of the series. The Expanse is good because of the main cast, because of the character work, and because of the very intimate and personal stakes that it showed during the series. So the alien side of things, it always was a little bit disappointing for me. So let's see how it is done in this series. I want to read soon the Song of Chaos series by Michael R. Miller that starts with Ascendant. And I want to read it because I've heard about it constantly on Twitter mainly. This looks like a very classic, very comforting, aesthetically. I'm pretty sure it won't be comforting reading it from the epic fantasy side of speculative fiction. It's about a guy that works, a young guy that works in the kitchen for a dragon rider order. He vowed to keep that kitchen and their kitchen pots extremely clean. So I like that there is a slight irony in the description of this actual status quo in the synopsis for the book. And then something incredible happens, because that young boy, he saves and he rescues a dragon egg. And in this world, all dragons must be perfect. So even if they have every slight imperfection, they will be killed. So it looks like the dragon is going to have some kind of disability, but the guy decided to save the dragon and vows to protect it. So I bet that the relationship with this dragon will be so wholesome and so amazing. It warms my heart just to think about how it could be and how extraordinary it will be to read something like that. A relationship that starts with those premise. It sounds incredible for me. So in this series, it looks like it's pretty classical epic fantasy with dragon riders. I don't know if the third book that it's been published a few weeks ago, it's the last one, or if it will be more than that, if it will be a full-fledged saga. But I will try to read book one pretty soon, and I will try to read more than one book in 1 year. It sounds beautiful. The cover is breathtaking, so I will give it a try. Then I will surely read pretty soon the Fractured Orbit series, starting with Eclipse by Herman Steuernagel. And this is a space opera too. It's about two unlikely allies that have to embark in a journey that will shape the fate of a civilization built on half-truths and the backs of others. What made me particularly interested in this series is that it's been described as dystopian in space, so a mix of dystopia and space opera. It says it's like if you mix the Hunger Games and the Expanse. So if you say that about the story, I guess there will be some kind of rebellion about against a dictatorship that will entail that in some way those two unlikely allies will have to fight and maybe use the fighting against that regime as a way to shake things up in the perception of that power, so that the inhabitants of the various planets and various solar systems will see that that government can be overthrown and that the actual status quo can be changed. It is an interesting way, an interesting spin on the classic space opera tropes, because of course in many space opera you'll find a galactic empire and you will find a crew of a lonely spaceship going against it. In a way you have that in the Expanse too, but you will prominently have that in everything that even remotely resembles Star Wars or Dune. But the fact that you describe this as that the author describes this as dystopia, it means that the government is enacting a series of habits that actually shape the daily life of the people living in this galaxy. So I'm pretty excited and I'm pretty curious to see how that side of dystopia influences the common trope in the space opera genre. I will let you know as soon as I finish book 1. So those are 6 book series I'll read soon, and I can tell you this is a tiny little fraction of all the book series I want to read. So there will probably be a part 2, or probably be a part 3. but I will try and film those when I read a good chunk of the book I've mentioned for you in this video. Then keep a look at this channel and keep an eye on this channel for another video about the series I have started that I haven't finished because of my problem with this kind of habit of reading more book in a book series. I will try to be better and I will do better. So this is all I have for you today. Remember that if you leave a like and you subscribe, you will help this channel a lot. If you like discussing about science fiction and fantasy book, this is the perfect place for you. And if you want to see more videos about this kind of book, if you want to see my wrap-up for the month of September, if you want to see what I'm reading in October, take a look at the videos you will find in the card at the end of this one. And if you want to keep in contact with me and see what I'm reading day by day, follow me on Twitter and follow me on Instagram. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.